Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Fire Theft Radio. Maverick, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I got a little bit of the back end of a cold, but I'm doing
Ooh.
okay. Makes my voice deeper.
Yes, and you got that good condenser mic, so it'll catch those nice, soothing tones in there.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, we took a little break, folks. We had a lot going on with the family. I had a newborn, and then Mav had his own stuff going on, so we just had to take some time. But we are back and we are ready to spread the fire. You ready, Maverick?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, all
I'm
right.
ready.
Lot has happened. We had a lot of real talk saved up, and because lots has happened, some of those are not relevant anymore. It's like those are very relevant for a very short period of time, and we have to really just stay on top of them because we at this point have hundreds of them saved. But we're trying to get like evergreen topics in those reels and TikToks because it's just that's how quickly information moves these days, where it seems so important, and honestly, people just kind of forget.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly, getting back to our series, the secret psyop. I think that's one of the psyops is, that happened last month. It's no longer important. Now we've moved on to something else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The saturation of information for sure is a psyop.
Yeah.
Because messes up people's endorphins big time, But we were trying to choose right before the show which things we're going to do, but some this TikTok was just not listenable because people kept sharing it and dubbing over it with their music, and it just was not good audio. But it was about this girl who was using a mirror to get into a portal, right? The mirror was the portal, and through the mirror's reflection of two mirrors, the smaller mirror looked like it was like, I don't know, this infinite hallway to this gigantic, I don't know, super Walmart or something. That's what it looked like.
It
And
did.
she was in her
It was
bedroom.
empty though.
It was what?
It was empty.
Mm.
So it was scary.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be scary, but this kind of amongst the young people, has grown quite a bit that there's supposedly access to back rooms, they call them. And there you find creatures, monsters, Nephilim, demons, and all kinds of stuff. And they harvest people there. And it seems that that's what she found. And the audio wasn't very good, but we had an interesting conversation about it because I think people don't realize that even there's a psyop there, is that they make kind of a joke out of these things where it's like, oh, look, people can find portals into other physical dimensions that you can visit. I don't think that's possible, in my opinion. I don't see just credible information. I don't know. It could be. I don't know. But I don't think I can put two mirrors together in my bedroom and then all of a sudden I create this portal where I can go into another physical dimension. But one thing that is for certain, because people do this in rituals, is they use mirrors as portals for demonic or spiritual contact to other entities in the dimension of the spirit realm. That for sure exists.
Yeah, and I think there's some of those topics, they overlap. I think there's little seeds that are planted. Do you remember those viral videos where someone would hold up a towel or a big piece of paper or something onto a mirror, and then they would hold something there, and then the camera would go off to the side, and you could see around the paper? How does the mirror know? How does it know that I'm holding a 9-volt battery or an egg? I don't know what items people pick. How does it know? And it's like, it's called reflection.
Mhm.
It reflects from the point of view of the viewer and reflects light. That's how we could see it. I remember doing that when I was a kid.
Mhm.
And so I think there's these weird things like, this is mysterious, this is weird, no one can explain this. And then you add some of these other layers of either urban legend or the video that we saw was fake. I think we could pretty well determine it was fake.
Mhm.
Uh, like faked on purpose, as almost, I don't know. Do you fake on accident? I don't know. But it was definitely made to heighten this. It's a portal to another dimension.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I think it's almost to where if you are atheist or agnostic, you don't have a fully realized understanding of the spirit realm. And so
Mhm.
these manufactured spiritual things almost.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I do believe that there is actual operatives from alphabet agencies that either come up with ideas or pay people to do these sorts of things and then post them on quote unquote credible conspiracy theories theorist podcast or pages to kind of make them look foolish because now it's kind of like, oh, that's retarded. Like you said,
Yeah.
like these guys are dumb or something. Sorry to use that word. The R word these days is sensitive, but it's just dumb to like, it makes them look really like, oh, well, if they're foolish enough to believe this, they're trying to make sure other information that is real just doesn't really get out.
Yeah, and you can have so much it's like looking for the M&Ms in the trail mix. Sometimes there's just so much almonds in there. You just can't find those M&Ms. That's what it sort of amounts to, I think, is you hide the good stuff, you hide the real stuff. With so much fake potpourri around it, you can't find it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That and so you don't have to deny it. You don't have to actually fight something that's true. You've just populated everything surrounding it with so much packing popcorn, you can't find the thing that was shipped.
Yep. So yeah, that being said, let's get into some reels and TikToks. That was one of them, and we're well aware that mirrors are used in ritualistic fashion in ancient religions. You can look up right now. I mean, Disney, for example, has been doing that for at least 100 years now, for in their movies using witchcraft and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, and Alice in Wonderland. There's so many different types of mirror and
Yeah.
black and white references and all that stuff.
I
So,
think people fail to realize you don't have to convince someone that something is real. You just have to make it familiar,
mhm,
and then it will have its work.
that's right. Well, first one of the day, lady gets cooked by Christian. So I
Yeah.
can already tell. Let me see. What is it? This is why the Catholic Church defends the canon zealously. This is why everyone can. I guess this is a Catholic page. This
Yeah,
is
it's a
why.
pro Catholic, yeah.
This is why not everyone can and should pick up a Bible and interpret it. So Jesus interpreted scripture for us when he came down to us to teach his apostles. The apostles preserved and their disciples continued to pass down and preserve this interpretation of scripture in the church of Jesus Christ, in the church that Jesus Christ established, the Catholic Church. Now, I remember, I mean, it was an interesting conversation, this one, but I did want to get a couple people back on, and I think pretty soon we will have Pastor Anthony Delgado and other people. There's been a huge revolution in the last decade that I've noticed where the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church has been gaining a lot of steam. It's been gaining a lot of popularity. And as usual, the first people I saw that were out there making a ruckus for God, and I mean that in a good way, was a lot of Protestant evangelicals and things like that. And
Mhm.
as soon as all of them get big, all of a sudden the Catholic Church is like, no, 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 let's step in, and then this is incorrect. Like, what's that guy? Uh, that got famous, the older guy and his son. Gosh, the Christian dude that goes to universities to do
Mm,
apologetics.
yes, I think I know who you're speaking of, and I can picture
Yeah.
them.
He's been making the rounds on podcasts or whatever, and all of a sudden, I see all his stuff reposted. Like, no, this guy's wrong. This guy's wrong. You know, now the Catholic Church, like usual, and the Orthodox Church, it makes fun of them and puts them down. Versus, why don't you guys get viral? Why
Right.
don't you guys go out there and do the legwork? You never see that until Protestants do it. Until Protestants do it, then they're like, okay, we got to do it too. And then also talk about how the Protestants are wrong and everything that they do. So that's what I don't like. And I'm not even disagreeing with points the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church brings up about certain topics of the Christian church or the Protestant church about how they're wrong in certain things. I mean, I would even agree to a portion or maybe a larger portion that people might think about things that we need to kind of fix in the Protestant church. But um, it's just kind of not helpful whatsoever when you finally see, the word of God never returns void. And I understand God will judge those who are doing it for the wrong reasons, but let people do work, and God's accounted for our misinterpretations with his sovereignty, and he'll reach out to those people he needs to reach out to. I know I was a zealot at one point, hey, basically preaching heresy. I had no idea, I had no idea
Yeah.
until I started learning more. But yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are on this whole revival of the Catholic and Orthodox Church, Mav.
I think it's in response to about 25 years, 30 years of a lot of quote unquote evangelical churches trying to separate from tradition. There's a viewpoint that the stuffy stuff should be taken out. Pastors shouldn't wear ties. We shouldn't have a lot of this sort of art or form that we used to have. Let's get rid of it. No more pews, just comfy chairs. No more passing plates. Now just scan a QR code. It's a lot of things that were removed. No more hymns, just praise songs. Now just very emotional mini concerts. And I think there's a rejection of those things.
Yeah.
And they go, well, where can we go? And honestly, a lot of people don't know how to find a solid church that doesn't have a lot of the fluff. And so they go back to this. There's a lot of people who will say the original church. This is the church that Jesus established. And there's really not that evidence for it. But I think there's a resurgence there because in the end, people want to find the connection back to Jesus. And instead of looking for Jesus, they look for it in something historical that reaches back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of things to be said about the rise of Catholicism, the rise of the Orthodox Church. None of the real difficult doctrine really gets brought up with the Orthodox Church. Catholic Church, Protestants just go, they just they literally pull a Hail Mary.
Yeah, they just worship, saints and
Hail Mary and saints, and then they just go on with that.
Right.
There's more to it than that. And but this particular, getting back to the Real Talk we're talking about here, there is something here. I haven't watched this, and if I have, maybe it was too long ago, I don't remember. But this is resolving to be saints is the account. I don't know anything about this account. I don't know this person, but she states, as a historian, I had to put my 2 cents in, and then she posted what you read here, and there's all these hashtags for Catholic different things. So I don't know. Should we play and then?
Yeah, play. Just
Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Then how do you feel about the fact that they justified slavery with the Bible?
Yes, so they
Okay, as a historian, I could not pass up the opportunity to talk about this, especially since my master's degree is actually in antebellum Southern history. So this is the period in United States history that takes place right before the Civil War. Having read both the Bible and studied history, I can tell you that the Bible in no way, shape, or form justifies slavery. Now, let's create a little bit of context. Unfortunately, in the broken world in which humans live, slavery existed, okay? It was just a thing. Now, if we look back to the Old Testament, you'll actually see that God established with his people something called the sabbatical year. And so during this time, all debts were to be forgiven, enslaved people were to be freed. And more often than not, slavery at that time, if you look at the historical context, at least within God's chosen people, slavery was used more as a practical tool for families to get out of debt or pay off a debt. But if you read the Bible, God always provided a means by which human dignity would be respected and or restitution would be made. Another unfair comparison to make, not all slavery is and or was created equal. The slavery described in the Old Testament is not the 19th century United States slavery that we know and understand today. Now, what I can tell you is that manipulated versions of the Bible, so if it's a manipulation, it is not the Bible in itself, okay? We had books being left out, we had parts being omitted, we had plantation owners either limiting or selecting certain preachers who would be willing to omit certain biblical texts, who would only focus on emphasizing readings dealing with submissiveness and obedience. These mutilated versions of the Bible that were adapted to the convenience of these plantation owners, those were used. But then again, it's unfair to say that the Bible was being used to justify slavery. No, it was being manipulated so that plantation owners could ensure the loyalty and obedience of enslaved workers. And this is why the church has guarded the canon, has guarded early manuscripts of the Bible so zealously. I know that many denominations or just people in general may perceive the church to have tried to limit access to the Bible, but this is exactly what we were trying to prevent. People from being able to cut and paste their own variation of the Bible to their convenience. And here are the effects of it, right? All this does is taint the image of Christianity and make it a tool to be used and abused at the convenience of unscrupulous people. They're called themselves Christian.
Then how do you feel about the fact that
Well,
they justified slavery?
Yeah, so this is
I was looking
yeah,
for my
this-
yellow flag to throw.
right. Wow. Yeah. I love how they do that. So everything was great. And then she made it about specifically the Catholic Church there at the end. You know what I mean? And
She basically is like, slavery, well, that's the Protestants' fault.
right. In a sense, because it's crazy because the Catholics amongst themselves also chose to read certain things incorrectly. It had nothing to do with the denomination, but the person misinterpreting it. It could have been a Catholic, Orthodox, or Protestant. They're all guilty of taking certain verses out of the Bible within context to fit certain political agendas. You just got to look back in any world history and what the Catholic Church has done, the Orthodox, whoever, and everyone's done that. It's not a specific. It's not an inherent issue to the Protestant Church.
It was happening during the Book of Acts.
Mm.
It was happening in Galatia. It was happening all over. It pretty much is something that always happens.
Mhm.
That these things that the Word of God is manipulated. Hello, Balaam. Hello, so many Old Testament
Right.
examples of twisting. This started out good, and you know what? As this was going, I did remember watching this, and then as it was going, I was like, "Oh, that's right. I did turn this off. I didn't even finish it because I knew exactly where she was going." What's so crazy is it was not Protestants who were taking all the slaves to the Caribbean. That generally was the Catholics doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what she's talking about, blaming slavery on Protestants, and it's the Catholics who are guarding the canon.
Mhm.
I don't know if she's read history. She says she's a historian. There is plenty of history showing that the Word of God was taken out of people's hands,
Mhm.
that they could not use it. So you tell me, like, what is it's sort of like saying someone burned themselves one time, so no one gets any fire.
Mhm.
Well, how are we supposed to cook? How are we supposed to keep ourselves warm? I was like, no, but there's a danger that you might burn yourself.
Right.
That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous sort of reason to bring up.
It is.
I know that it's used. That's Catholic apologetics. We guard the
Yeah,
canon.
they do that all the time. That's my number one issue is them they always blame everything on Protestants. And it's like, dude, as a church, as a whole body church, you are just as guilty. Just because even I'll give you this, maybe the Orthodox Church and
Of course.
the Catholics took care of the Bible, but it doesn't mean the people that follow your denomination did a good job in understanding what was being taught in the Catholic Church or in the Orthodox Church. Because at the end of the day, when people leave and go home, they have their interpretations of things, and they don't listen to the father, the priest, whoever's teaching, or they misunderstand it, and they go off on their own tangents. And that is the most normal thing that happens within the whole body of Christ. Other than that, I agree with you about how the Bible does not support slavery. 100%. You know, that's always an atheist clapback that they think they have. Oh, but the Bible says you can like the Bill Maher's of the world and all that. Oh, you can do slavery according to the Bible. And I'm like, dude, you guys are dumb.
Well, what they do is they take the concept of, or the idea that God provides. This is how I like to state it. God provides methods through the law for people to live righteously in sinful situations. That's the point. Divorce is the best example. Divorce is, God said, I hate divorce. Yet God provided rules for divorce in the law. Why? Because human sin is real. So there's a way to find a level of righteousness, goodness, a method for us to live in a sinful world. That's the point. The point's not there's rules for divorce. God likes divorce. No, he says categorically, I hate divorce. But in order for human beings to live in a sinful world, there has to be a provision made for it. Same thing for slavery. If God said no slavery, is the whole nation would have fallen apart because slavery was a part of the ancient world. It wasn't chattel slavery in the same way that we think about it today, plantation slavery, as it's called, or whatever term you want to use. But even in that, you can't have a civil war with only one side. So it's not like everyone in the United States was on the same side of that issue. All the Protestants were all not on the same issue or same side of that issue. Anyway, the arguments break down as far as that. But yeah, agreed. There were provisions for slavery. There were provisions for slave owners to be kind to their slaves.
God provided instructions on the best possible outcome for the fallen nature of humanity. Not just saying, oh, I agree with it, not saying that, not promoting it at all. It's just like, if you guys want to, if you're going to endure this, this is the best way, the most humane way, which is why he would say, hey, you got to let go of your slaves. Even there's laws on how to treat them. You can't just be whipping them and working them like crazy. And like you see in all these movies, like, all these slave movies that we watch today, that's not the type of slavery that the Hebrews were allowed to do in the ancient, in the Old Testament. And when they did do that, it was like it was, even worse. There was repercussions to how that is. He was always telling them, don't be like the pagans. Don't treat slaves like they treat them, where they do all that crazy stuff. So it was a whole different thing. You have to know a little bit more historical context to get it. And just to say that God was pro slave is ridiculous. Anyways.
Yeah, agreed.
Next.
All right, let's see what we got here. This next one, I think it's one of these that's probably still relevant to a certain degree, at least for us to discuss. I think.
Oh yeah.
So this is has to do with air traffic control in Newark. So I think we can just play this one. There's no like description or whatever. It just says this is straight up scary.
It says straight up scary. I won't be flying for the next 3 years.
There's lots of emojis.
Mm-hmm.
Begin the number 2 ends. Begin to ends
is the page.
Posted this. Yeah.
They have some gold nuggets, but then they go off sometimes.
All right. Well, yes, we all do, I guess. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Air traffic controller. Newark Airport airspace told him, quote, it is not a safe situation for the flying public. And quote, don't
Ooh, you can't hear that at all.
Avoid Newark at all costs. The air traffic controllers.
Let me see if I can correct it over here.
Are having heart palpitations, breaking down in tears, and having to take trauma leave because of what is happening in the FAA. Air traffic controllers are sneaking word to reporters, it is not safe. How do we get a functional government back? Right? Air traffic controllers aren't just like a team or like a private company. That's the government, right? The whole air traffic control system is a government operation. We've got air traffic controllers losing contact, losing the ability to communicate or see any of the planes that they are actively in that moment controlling to try to stop them from smashing into one another. Just waiting until the systems come back up and hoping those planes have not hit each other while the systems were down.
Hold on.
Yes, please.
What is she talking about? Like, I understand there are
This
people who
is-
are saying, don't,
Dude, I'm not.
don't,
I always have to silver line this, or I don't know what the phrase is. I'm not a pro-Trump guy, right? Like, but this is Trump derangement syndrome. Like, this is what that is. They're just trying to pin any possible thing on. Oh, remember how he said he was going to do this? It's his fault. It's 100% because of Trump administration. Planes are coming down.
I don't understand. I don't understand. So everyone got hired in the last 100 days for this event,
Mm-hmm. No.
for these events. That doesn't make any sense. And then at the same time, they would say, well, we shouldn't audit things because, that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
The rhetoric is it's so quick, and they just hope you don't pull different things together. It's, I don't.
Well,
Okay,
whoever posted
don't
it,
fly into
whoever
Newark.
posted
Okay,
it is, the propaganda is working. It's scary. I won't fly for 3 years or whatever. And I think that's what they're trying to push is nobody fly. It's not safe during this administration. It's better that you stay in your cities. And I think that this is the beginning of the smart cities getting built. Don't leave. You don't need to travel. Everything's down the street.
don't travel. Yeah,
I live here in Southern California, and almost every nicer apartment building is built on top of a center of like food, like a grocery store, nail salon, barber shop, tire shop, like
yeah.
so basically anything you need, you just have to go downstairs and then go back upstairs and never leave your block, and that's how
Right.
everything is getting built right now. And I think one of the more smart cities that we have here is right next to Chino. They're going to call it, I forgot the name of it, but it's basically going to be a smart city. And it's like that. Everything you need is within 2 blocks. You do not need to leave, ever. Like everything, food, car, even medical services, all in 2 block radius. It's crazy. And it's massive blocks, but it's pretty nuts. And I think this is going to be a contributing factor during this administration, which they're going to blame it on him, but simultaneously, I think the government that he's under, he's kind of pushing New World Order type vibes if you pay attention, and help promote these kind of cities that are going to get built anyways.
Yeah, and that's the first comment that I see here. Sandola Events says, isn't that where they're implementing the 15-minute cities?
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that's exactly what you're talking about.
See, I didn't even see
Is
that. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, the thing is that, okay, number one, we're just talking about Newark Airport specifically. But this idea that all of air traffic control is controlled by the FFA and every airport is a monolith is absolutely incorrect.
Mhm.
The different airports that are in places where it gets icy and snowy, they go to Salt Lake City to train with those particular folks at the airport to do that. And I know they're talking about air traffic control, but each place is unique. Like the different people they have working there, the different managers that they have in the different places, the higher ups, they're all different people. They're run differently. And I don't know why it's a monolith all of a sudden. Oh, they're
Mhm.
all exactly the same. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. The other thing to pay attention to is that if you look at plane crashes for the last 15 to 20 years, we haven't had record numbers. They're similar. The only difference is the media is paying attention to them and blaming the administration. There's nothing like absurdly crazy. You might have more this year on purpose, and I think that's the scary part, where they're willing to do crazy things just to make the administration look bad.
You just have to report more. Doesn't
Yeah,
even have to be more.
right. You just have to report more, and that's really that's what I'm trying to say right now is that I think was it 5 or 10 years ago there was record number of planes falling. Nobody heard about it. It wasn't reported at all whatsoever. It's important and relevant now, so you'll hear about it more and more. especially this lady with the short haircut. I forget her name. I can't stand even looking at her. What's her name?
Maddow.
Yeah, Maddow. I don't know, dude. You can just look at people and you're like, you're so scummy and disingenuous. I can't believe you're just, I don't know, man. You're making so much money too. Ugh. It bugs me, dude.
Yeah.
But
Someone asked that too in there in the comments. Sivagram says, how does this chick still have a job at MSDNC?
oh, geez. Why would she but have a job?
Why would she but have a job?
I don't know. That doesn't make
I
no
don't
sense.
know. I don't know.
Because the company she works for wants to blame Trump, but it's the 5G towers that are causing this issue, but no one wants to admit it.
Okay. Can we talk about the 5G for a second?
Okay, tell me.
People are all the 5G towers, all this stuff. There's multiple bands that are used for the different frequencies that are used for the 5G. One uses immense amount of power. One of them is low power. The one that uses immense amount of power, yeah, that can mess you up. But the cell towers aren't using that right now. They're using the other one. So all these promised speeds, have you seen a massive increase in your efficiency on your phone with 5G like they promised?
No.
Thousands of times faster?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't.
Mm-mm.
And I had my 5G off for the longest time, and then I read up on this, and then I switched over. I saw almost no difference between 5G and LTE.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe someone else has. If you have,
actually, I think LTE was faster for me, but
yeah, like it's baloney. This idea that these 5G towers are beaming out all this stuff and it's messing everything up. Nah, they're doing the tricky thing. You did this with LTE also. There's like an LTE Lite that they used to have, sort of a thing. Same thing. It's the lower end of the band that's cheaper to run and all these sort of things. So this idea that 5G is doing all these things, nah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it can't. I'm not saying that it's not somewhere. Most places, though, nah.
Yeah.
It's the low power, low beam.
Everything is kind of regressing, and I don't think people realize that it's happening because, like, even the television, I hate television. I hate, like, I watch movies, right? But I hate, for example, if I wanted to watch a movie and I couldn't find it in any of the services, which I only have like 2 or 3, I would just rent it on Prime. Just rent it for $2.99, $3.99. But now Prime doesn't let you because now everyone's licensed. Like certain movies are only available on this app, and you have to get it on that app, or you can't get it at all, or you have to pay some absurd number of like $20 to rent it for a day or whatever. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And now I can't even watch like regular TV on my thing, where everything is watch the Super Bowl live. It's horrible unless you have direct connection on your TV. It's so terrible to stream, and it's so blocky, so choppy. No matter what, no matter how high the bandwidth, everything, all that, it's terrible. It's terrible. And you're lying to yourself if you think it's really good. It's not good. Okay. It's not good. And I don't like any of these apps downloading live fights, any of that stuff. TV was better before internet TV. It was so much better. And it was actually very crisp. If you had a good antenna, it was sharp, it was crisp. I didn't need more than 720 and 1080 to have a beautiful crystalline clear view. You don't need 4K, 8K, all that stuff. Your eye, that's the other side, by the way. Your eye can't see anything past what, like 3K or something like that. This whole
I think it's 8K, but I mean, I got glasses on.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not seeing the world in 4K with my glasses off. I have to already manipulate my vision to see something.
Yeah, but it's like the whole no, I think it's less than that. I could be wrong, but from my understanding, you can see way less K, pixels per square inch than TVs show. And then when you go by them, for example, they look so bright colored. They film all of that at a really high frame rate. And then
that's
when you
what it is.
And then when you come home, almost everything is filmed at a no higher than 24 or 48 frames per second, unless you're watching something specific. Certain things are filmed at 60 frames, but you're not getting any. You're just getting. You're paying more for no reason. You really aren't. and it just angers me that everyone's pretending to be like, yeah, this is the best thing. I'm watching live Fox, live this, live that. It's terrible. It was already live before. Yeah. Give me 10 seconds of lag. I don't care. I don't care if it's from 5 minutes ago, whatever. I don't need it to be super live, but it's lagging forever, to catch up. I don't buy it, dude. I hate it. I hate looking for movies and I have to be on Paramount or Hulu or this or that. And I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous. I hate modern TV, dude.
That was Chuck's Luddite entertainment rant.
I know, sorry.
In our house, we only use puppets and light shadow puppets to
oh man, make me look bad, huh?
No, I think you're right. I think people do sort of lie to themselves to think that entertainment's so much better now. It's really not.
It's just saturated.
It's oversaturated. Your eyes are used to it. You look at screens. That's what's funny is we look at, this is a beautiful screen. It's like 3 inches. And it's like, okay, I understand the convenience part. Actually, the convenience is the technological advantage. Is now I could, if I wanted to, download those things and watch them later on a pretty good screen, but it's super small, the sound or whatever. I'm telling you, there's nothing like going to the movies, sitting down with a good movie with a good sound at the big screen. Like, that technology is decades and decades old, right? Probably peaked in the early 2000s as being like,
real quick, I'm going back to this. I know, I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No, it's fine.
I'm busting a Jamie from Joe Rogan.
Oh no.
At our eye with a range of an average of 20/20 vision can resolve about 900. Whoa, why are you doing that to me? With an average of 20/20 vision, an eye can resolve about 900 to 2200 pixels per inch. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And so this whole 4K, 8K is just a farce. It's ridiculous. People, just because they sharpen the colors, they're like, dude, I can really see the difference. I'm like, no, they just gave you a better frame rate with a little bit more color, and you're paying a lot more money for something your eye can't even perceive.
My favorite is look at this commercial for the TV with much clearer picture. You're like, oh my gosh, look how clear that TV looks. It's like, you're watching it on your TV, bro.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
What are you saying?
That's how detached we are, because the propaganda tells you, like, bro, look at that TV within my TV. Wow. Must be another dimension I'm looking into, bro.
That's amazing. I must be looking at it through a mirror.
Oh, dude, we're gonna open someone's eye right now. That's real fire. That's everyday fire, useful fire you can use.
It is. That's like, oh shoot, you're right. What am I doing?
Mm-hmm. Anyways, this other one wants to play itself over and over, so might as well let's go to the next one.
Yeah, sorry if you could hear that. If that was coming through.
It was. That's why I was like, why are you blocking me off?
I couldn't get it to mute.
Yeah.
Just kept going. So this one we have a total change of pace from selling you TVs. So this one has a lady. If you could see the picture,
mm-hmm.
The preview here, which I don't know why it's there. You go. Looks like she's sneezing.
She's about to sneeze.
It says channeling the great counsel on my podcast is what it says right there. Mm-hmm. So it's from Sean Mike Kelly. Have you listened to this podcast before?
Sean Mike Kelly? No, I have not listened to that podcast.
No. Okay. But it says channeling the great counsel on my podcast. And underneath this sneezing lady is, it looks like an alien council. Mm-hmm. With different orbs and different things around there. So describing it for all our podcast listeners. So here we go. And it's just going to jump right in and it's going to be jarring.
Yeah. It's kind of loud and obnoxious. I'm going to lower the volume. Actually, that one's a little louder.
Yeah.
And she was basically, through her, channeling alien entities that are talking to us. And if I remember correctly, the host of the podcast looks like he did his uttermost best not to laugh because it looked like he was holding it in, but I don't know. It's just maybe me.
Yeah, we report, you decide. All right,
Okay, go.
ready?
Yep.
You're here. We are here. We are very happy to be here. Yes, indeed, dear one. Yes, we are here. Yes, we do have a message for you and your community in the world. There will be a shift that will happen on your planet. The frequencies of your world will shift dynamically. We implore you now. Understand. You are in control of your individual experience, your individual frequency, your individual understanding for now. You can create what you desire for your future by merely existing in a frequency that is higher and better. Know that we are here to support you through this shift of humanity. Nothing's happening to you. It is for you and the betterment of humankind's experience on planet Earth.
Take a deep breath.
That was a lot.
Wow.
AC.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know who that was, or
That was the Great Council.
how many of them are there?
There's a large group of them. When I walk in to work with them, they're all sitting at a table. That's a visual that they give me. I don't know exactly the number. They are creator beings. They are very, 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 very powerful, loving beings. They really are trying to help us understand that we're in control of our experience. Yes, we are here.
Okay, we don't need to hear it again.
Bro, whoever her husband is, just give her some attention, brother.
Wow.
Take her out. Take her out to the whining country, man. She looks like she'll enjoy a good glass of Cabernet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think she could. Well, Chardonnay, I think is probably what she would
Okay, yeah. All right,
go
cool.
for. But I mean, she is channeling some sort of it's an old professor from England, but has lived in the United States long enough to lose most of his accent, but just enough. That's the voice that she's using.
Look, Hell's Enemy, my music. I follow that guy. He's got good like screamer music, but he's a Catholic guy. He says possessed by Nigel Thornberry.
Exactly. You heard it too. Oh, you got the Lord's Giant on here too. This
Oh,
could
there
be
you go.
Amazing satire.
This could be amazing satire. Look right here. I like that. See what I was saying earlier. Okay. I don't said Sean Mike Kelly podcast. I don't know what award you deserve, but one is certainly deserved for keeping that straight face composure. That was a better
Seriously.
performance than hers.
And you could see it. You're right. It's towards the beginning where they kind of show a split screen of him, and he's like looking like he's taking notes and doing other things because he's going to lose it.
Yeah, he's about to.
He's looking away. Yeah, he's not. I'm not here right now because he's going to lose it because it is so ridiculous. And you know what? It's the same flipping message from everywhere. It's raise your frequency. We're here for you. We're here to help you. All the Pied Piper language to get someone to fall into that camp. We want to help you. It's not happening to you. It's happening for you. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't know. I don't know if she's ever seen herself when she's done this, like seen the video after she does it. I don't know that she is making friends and influencing people. I think she thinks she is. And when she snaps out, she's like, oh, wow. Wow.
That was a lot.
Ooh. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, look, we've talked about aliens and their connections to a lot of spiritual things in the past. So go back through the Hell Hydra series, and you'll probably get some context as to what we're talking about here. Because we really have had these conversations before. If and when, let's say maybe this is 100% a real experience for her, and she's not just doing it for money or trying to be special, or she's not getting attention from her husband, like I said. She could be possessed. She could be actually possessed and having these weird experiences. So are you seeing that Harry Potter thing? someone put a gif of her, and it's like crazy witch from Harry Potter with the glasses. And but yeah, I mean, I met a couple people like this in the past that used to go to that charismatic church where they did deliverance, and I got to tell you, when they put their hands over her and they prayed to, get a spirit out, a demon came out. So, and in like fashion, what was interesting was that there's a lot of people that reported, just like in the book of Acts, that when they would go to church and get like a deliverance, they would lose their abilities to connect to the spiritual world,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't come back. They didn't want to come back because they're like, hey, that wasn't a pleasant experience for me. It's kind of ruining my business.
Yeah.
So this could be one of those things. I don't know. It might be silly, but if you've ever seen someone demonically possessed, they do contort kind of weird. They don't have the best physical experience. It's never very pleasant. Their face, their body contorts, their voice sometimes changes. So I don't want to diminish this and just make fun of it because it looks incredibly silly. It could be a very serious spiritual situation that's just kind of ridiculous. It looks ridiculous, at least,
Yeah, it definitely could be. You're right. It could be real. She could be actually suffering from this and not really even understand that she's suffering from this. There is someone in here that says, everybody here commenting, but has anyone called an ambulance for this lady? There's something about seeing it, and maybe it is. Maybe it's seeing it on your small screen in less than 4K where you go, I don't know. Now, if you were there and having a conversation, and this was part of a longer discourse and all this, and then that happens, I can see being there and having it framed for you, feeling scared, like feeling this is real. And like it might be. But there's a lot of people calling these things out.
Yeah, it looks like no one's really buying it, so that's kind of cool.
There was someone in here who's like, I can't tell if this is real. Is this real? Genuinely asking. Says Amy Ming. And then someone replies, oh gosh, it is. Oh, it was her. She replied to her, oh gosh, it is real.
Yeah, she probably went to go check out the show and saw that there was a real interview, and she really thinks this is a thing.
Oh. Yes, she might be asking, is this really a podcast? Yeah. Can you imagine this being for 2 hours?
Oof, I don't think so. I think they talked about her life, and then they said, hey, well, let's do a channeling, see what happens.
Yes. That's probably right.
That's rough. All right, man. You want to go do another one, or you want to land this plane? I think it's a good start to say, hey, we are back, and we're gonna have some other guests coming on pretty soon. What do you want to say? What's going on?
We're back. I don't know if you want to I don't know if you want to real quick just kind of talk about what are some of the things that you're finding in your feeds where you say, hey, these are cool things I think we should talk about. These are things that are coming up. Or do you have any previews of what's going to be coming on to Fire Theft Radio we could share with everybody? So I guess one or the other, or both.
Yes. So a while back, we had Anthony Delgado talk about his release of the book, The Gospel is Greater Than You Think. He gave us a general kind of thing, and he really did a great job of giving us a general overview of the book. Started reading it, and I gotta say, he doesn't pull any punches, and I think it's going to really it's a must read for any denomination of any church, because he kind of has a little something for everyone, whether you're Southern Baptist, evangelical, Orthodox, Catholic. I think there's something that we all as a church collectively can use, and it'll be valuable because we have filters within our denominations. We miss certain things that other denominations can see, and sometimes they get it right, which is why it's good to do overall Bible study. And I think that book is kind of a bridge to start at least making you aware that you should step outside those filters that you might have and start making some connections that another denomination brought up, but it's actually correct. And so he addresses that actually situation of why he thinks the church, or in general, has gone towards the Orthodox and Catholic Church And so it's just a wonderful book. I'm only a quarter of the way through, and I'm like, bro, I literally dropped the book, put it down, and I called him. And I was like, dude, you are not pulling any punches. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, dude, like you're telling people that have like done ministry forever that, by the way, did you ever consider that you missed something other than altar calls and the way you evangelize? Because you have this set little thing that you just kind of go based upon, and you think, oh man, he raised his hand in the service, praise God. Yeah, but what's next? And then I know we
Yeah.
always know or think we know that, oh, well, now you kind of build that person. Yeah, we know that, but what does that look like step by step? And a lot of the times churches say they emphasize on that, but they really don't. They emphasize on like the salvation aspect in a sense, the evangelism aspect,
Yeah.
but the depth and understanding of the gospel and what does it actually accomplish in a very pragmatic way. I think that sometimes is overlooked, and I think this is the book. So we're going to cover a lot of that book. It's going to be a few episodes for sure. He's already agreed on it, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, I started it, and honestly, it was one of those books that I started. I'm usually in the middle of 3 books all at once.
Mm.
And so, but once I'm out of my current 3 books and my research series, then I'm going to just focus on that book. That'll be the only book I'm reading. I sent him a message and told him such. I said this is the next step on my list to do that. So yeah, I really want to focus in and read through that, because I agree. I think it's a really important one. We did talk about it before, and I bought it at that time, and I just put it in I put it in the stack when I'm finally getting up to it. So yeah, I agree. I think it's well worth that for sure.
Yep. And we've had this long conversation, Mav and I, about, we've always kind of been teeter-tottering on whether or not we should revisit stuff that we thought, hey man, this is long gone. We talked about it a long time ago. For Mav, it's like 20 years old. For me, it's like 15 or 10 years old of things that I've been looking into. And Matt was looking into the fringy stuff, quote unquote, since before the internet was about it. He was reading books on it. So it's just, we were like, you know what? I think the ship has sailed, but then I think we need to go back to it and do exactly what this show started to do, is to reframe it from a biblical perspective again, even though that's what we've always been doing. But the growth of it has also given fruit to so many shows that use the same information out of context. So we are going to have to revisit a lot of the things we've spoken of before, like Nephilim, demons, angels, fringy stuff, and really kind of remind you guys that this actually has biblical framework, and it's not just something conspiratorial and crazy people talk. And I think that's going to be useful because of the growth of it, the popularity of it.
Yeah, and I think everything bubbles back up. Everything comes back. 10, 15 years, it kind of comes back. JFK was cool to talk about this last year because RFK, but it was quiet for a while. Then it'll pop up again with something. I feel like a lot of conspiracies pop up again. A lot of heresies pop up again. And it's good to go back and to review some of these things. A lot of people will think, oh, the alien thing or the ancient alien thing is a brand new thing. Nah, that they've been kicking that around for a long, long time. Just keeps cycling back through. So it is worth going back to some of these, even some of the political conspiracy stuff. Believe it or not, these were things that were talked about in the 60s. These are things that were talked about even earlier. Different government conspiracies and things. And now it's really weird because you see these things, they become trendy, they become viral, they fly around. There was this who was it? I think it was William Ramsey. Tweeted something out today where he said, "Oh, it's people are this close to discovering that the what was it? That the government is full of criminals." And I was like, Sounds like it's time for a false flag and big old war again. That's what we always tend to do when we get close like this,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it just cycles back around.
Mhm.
And that goes even during the time of Jesus. You had people who were assassinating people and trying to manipulate government because they saw it as oppressive. So there's a lot of things that have been going on for forever that I
Mhm.
think it's good to revisit. It's good to talk about because it's easy to be taken in. So
Mhm.
easy. So easy.
Mhm. Yeah. So we will get old guests back on and just have these conversations. There's a lot of podcasts now you can choose from. But we tend to be a voice of reason, in my opinion, and things that can get very strange. This is my opinion. Maybe you know, I
We
just
are
feel like we know the fringe is out there and it can get very weird and strange. But we also always remind you, like, dude, just also, how about study the Bible quite a bit before you go down rabbit holes of how many Nephilim bloodlines are there, and can I go kill a wolf man right now? Do I have to Nephilim hunt, or you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
yeah.
nah, bro,
Where
clean your
do I get
room.
silver bullets?
Yeah, exactly. No,
You
I
know?
literally have met people like that in other ministries just recently, just last year. That's you say that joking around, but this guy from the other ministry I was working with got so involved into this world where there's one of the guys that in that ministry, he makes knives for a living, like that's his thing. So
Yeah.
he was telling him, like, hey, how much will you charge me to make me weapons made out of silver? And do you know anyone who can make bullets out of silver and all that stuff? Because he was dead set saying that God has called him to go hunt down wolfmen and Nephilim type things. And since that was part of the lore is the silver and all this other stuff, he was like gonna go do it. And they had to have a conversation with him, like, bro, what? And
Yeah.
so it was just very strange, very strange. And I'm just kind of like, bro, no, dude, you know, m- be an excellent husband to your wife and be an excellent father to your kids, and you will, by consequence, fight against spiritual tyranny by doing those things, because almost everything that exists to tear apart the the growth of family, the growth of be fruitful and multiply. And you being a man of God to your family will infect them with that sort of thing, and then they will take that to their kids or to school or to work, and you will help the kingdom in much greater ways than to go kill some Nephilim, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know where you stand on that, man, but that's what I see,
Yeah. I
and I'm not.
mean, once you go kill a Nephilim, you still have to go to work on Monday.
Yeah, dude. And at that point, you got to be Van Helsing. You got to quit, and that's going to be your job, dude. You know what I
You
mean?
need a hat, the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
It's hard
dude.
to find those hats.
That'd be great, honestly. But I heard Pastor Chuck from Calvary Chapel say something great, that men are so willing to become heroes, that even when they follow Christ, they're willing to die for Christ, but very few are willing to live for Him. That every day just grind of just being a quote unquote boring Christian, just do the work on a day to day basis. That infused with the Holy Spirit has huge ramifications. It'll bless so many people. You just got to be doing, the Lord's work actually, and then He'll bless a lot of people, man.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Any
on my
final words?
side, I'm prepping to head off to Africa here in a couple weeks,
There you go.
and gonna be teaching a conference on building a systematic theology from an African perspective,
There you go.
which it's been a pretty cool study. And I know for some people that sounds dry, but I guarantee you it would not be.
Dude.
So it's a good thing. So yeah, I'll be out for a few weeks. So I know I said we're back, and now that we're back, I'm leaving.
Let's see
But I'll be
this.
back.
I'll just remind people, the last time you went, to Uganda, you said something very interesting. It stuck with me so much because you weren't over there demon hunting. You weren't over there Van Helsing it, Van Helsing it, you know, you weren't
Yep.
doing that. But you told that story about how some of the local like witchcraft practitioners and all that don't like it when Christians come around because it disrupts the spirits that they worship and that all that. It just messes everything up for them.
Yep.
And what more proof do you need? Like, dude, you just need to show up. And you're not over there saying, I'm sure you're not over there praying in the middle of their, their rituals. I bind you in the name of Jesus and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I
No.
send fire, Lord, from heaven. No, you're just over there doing, just, hey, learn some Bible, and you're just existing in the midst of it. And it just destroys the darkness. You don't have to be fantastic like in the movies and stuff. You're just not necessary. You know what I mean? It's not necessary. If we believe the power of God, one thing that movies do terribly is that they give too much power to demons and spirits, that they think it's really hard for a Christian to expel a demon, that you have to do all of these things in order to finally get it right, and that demon is finally gone. You can literally tell it to leave. Look at what Jesus did. Jesus says you have this authority. He was never saying, oh, I got to use this sort of wood or silver or this thing. I got to pray, all these different things. And no, he says, leave, leave. He would show up and tell that demon to leave, and it left. And he says, the things that I did, you can do and will do greater things, folks. Okay. He didn't make a ruckus about it. He just did the thing. So if you are following Christ, you have Jesus in you, you can do the same thing. You're not going to walk into a room and suddenly find yourself like Constantine and I got to use this thing or that thing or smoke him out with this kind of cigar or whatever, No, that's what the pagans do. Don't be a pagan, It's less fantastical. I like to use that word like that, but it works. You don't have to do anything, to let God work through you. You just have to show up and the Holy Spirit will do the work, man.
Speak Christ and him crucified, and that is more terrifying than any kind of holy water you can find.
That's right. Preach it, brother. Preach it. I think that's going to be me if I go with you to Uganda and all that stuff. I'm just be in the background being, just too much.
They're going to outdo you, man.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? Get this guy out of here. All right. They're going to outdo me.
Show you up.
Oh, no. I know. They dance and everything. It's really cool, man.
Oh, yeah.
I tell you.
Oh, yeah.
I saw those videos you were sending me. It was really, really cool. All right, folks. That's all we got. You know how to support us. Don't forget, you can support us. I got an email from somebody saying they want to support us and they want signed books of Gary Wayne. I still have some. So reach out, and we will do that. We will soon, hopefully, Mav, I don't want to speak too soon. Just remind you, we will be part of a nonprofit, Fire Theft Radio, right?
So, we're working on it. We're trying to plug all the things in because we want to do it right. We don't want to just throw it together, Scotch tape, and then find out later we got to fix stuff. So we're going to do it right.
Correct. And you're very good at that. So you're looking at all the matters there. And that way, if you do want to help, it'll be something that would be deductible for you. You know what I mean? So later, because it'll be, oriented towards just a specific ministry and things like that. And so you guys will be able to do that. So that's really great. Before then, again, just email me. I can send you all the apps or whatever that we do if you don't want to use Patreon. And we can, send you a book if you're within the United States. That way, it makes sense, I guess, financially, because anywhere out of the country, it starts costing a lot of money to send you a book. But other than that, just remember, we do still have those. I'm going to get some more stuff that I want from Dr. Judd Burton. Him and Aaron Judkins did a book about Gobekli Tepe, and I want copies of those as well. The goal is to have him on as well to talk about that. So there's a lot of good stuff that is planned. It's just a matter of making the time now. And the Lord, I think, has provided some time for me in the near future. It looks pretty open. And so we're back at it, ready to spread this fire. So other than that, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, message us, email us at firetheftradio@gmail.com or iTunes over there. And reach out. Any suggestions, any people you want that are Christian, send them over. Let's talk. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, that's all I got, folks. So, as always, don't forget to spread the fire. Later.
Later, everybody.